Why is this not? Hey, Helena, are you on there yet? Because I can't hear anything. Why is this not doing this? Oh, wait, here I am. Are you there? How come my face isn't on there?
Mine is not
Oh,
either.
wait. Shut up.
Oh, here you are. I got you. You see?
You know why? Because the little thing. I'm wondering if I put it like this.
I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I'm up.
It's recording too. I don't know why it's recording.
Well, because maybe Joe's on there.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Let's put it like over here. We're going to close this up. See? Oh, it still looks bad.
I'm not sure.
How come my headphones aren't working? Yes?
Lisa's trying to get, well, Lisa's on the meeting now.
Yeah, but I can't hear anything. Why is my...
Oh, because I don't talk. Now you hear
Oh,
it?
there you go. Now
I
I
mute
can hear.
myself. Okay, we work. So I put.
No or no? Lisa?
Yeah, we're in it. We're yeah, we're here.
Right. No,
Who?
I know. Is the information, what's your name again, ma'am? I'm sorry. Suzanne is from Westbrook.
She doesn't have a copy of the meeting? Does she need me to send her the link?
Yeah, he's not here. Do you know what the code is for them to get on?
Yes. Yeah, just tell, let me ask her if she wants me to send her the, all right. Hold on. Suzanne? Hi, how are you? Do you want me to send you the link? Or you have? No, that's not it. Yeah, he must not have changed it. Joe must not have changed it when he sent it out. He sent out a link to the board. Did you, and you clicked on the link that is on the. Okay, the meeting ID number is 839. Yes, 0647 7847 924 246. Okay, that's the one that I have. That's the one that I went into. Oh no, I'm not. Yeah, I know. Yeah, oh no, don't worry about it. Joe sent this out. I wasn't in, so I'm not sure what. Are we in the meeting? Is that the right one? Did you go in the one that was in the calendar? Yeah, because that's what. You're in now? Okay, good. Well, yeah, it was the link he sent out to the board that Joe sent out.
That's why I see you there. Nobody else.
Okay, Suzanne, thank you for letting me know. Bye-bye. Because the one that's on the agenda is wrong. He never updated the agenda that he sent out. Okay, so I'm trying to see. Yeah.
Am I in the right meeting, Lisa?
Yes, you're in the right meeting. If do you have Angus and Suzanne in there yet?
Nope.
I know something's.
Oh, there's Helena.
Let's wait for a minute because the one I went into was the link that Joe sent out.
That's what I'm using.
It was the with agenda, yes?
And the one that was on the agenda
Yeah.
was the one Suzanne and Noel were trying to get into, but they couldn't get in. So I'm assuming this is right. See, so now we're in the right one
Oh, okay.
because Tim is on this one too.
Yeah,
So
so yeah.
Hi, Tim.
Good day, good day.
I thought you were away.
No, I'm drifty, but not away.
We understand.
Okay. So,
Tim, are you an official board member of Nine Town at this point?
Yes, because we're still recruiting somebody that would have some relevant experience and so forth, so I'm
You're here, but you're not permanent.
likely, yeah.
Okay. Hi,
Joe, are
Charlie.
you on, this is Joe or Leslie, this is Noel. Are you on the phone?
no,
Who's-
Joe's not on yet. No, Joe's not on
Leslie,
yet.
are you on the phone?
She's not on yet.
Suzanne, explain what happened to us, and hopefully it doesn't happen to other people. Please, Suzanne.
Yeah, so we have the agenda, and I put the past meeting ID and password that's listed on the agenda to the public, and those numbers are incorrect. So we called Lisa, and she gave us the correct numbers. However, since this is a public meeting and the agenda has the wrong information on it, I don't know if it'll be valid, especially you're talking about all the MOA stuff, because the public probably can't participate in this meeting because
I'm gonna be here all day long, because this is a long one, and we're gonna lose Noel at 11:45, which may affect how we're gonna run the agenda. So call to order at 9:44, boy. Charlie, roll call, please.
Okay, Leslie?
Yep.
Carl? Angus? Peter?
Here.
Joan?
here.
Susan?
Here.
Tim?
Here.
I'm here, and Noel?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Very good. Good morning, everybody. Sorry about all this confusion. We're gonna move quickly. We have a very large agenda. And we're going immediately to visitors' comments, and we've put our audit right in that column from Seward and Mundy. So I'm going to turn this over to our auditors. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Tom Partalis. I'm with the audit firm Seward and Munday. Thanks for having me today. We had a detailed review of the financial statements a couple days ago with the Finance Committee. So I'll just give you just a quick overview. Basically, we issued a clean opinion on the financial statements, clean opinions on the federal and state financial assistance schedules. There were no compliance findings or internal control deficiencies in our federal and state governmental compliance audit procedures. There was no management letter issued. Overall, the net position increased by a combined amount of $515,531. This included an increase in your net investment in capital assets by $349,093. And more importantly, an increase in your unrestricted net position, which is basically your operating surplus, by $166,438. This continued the positive trend of building up your operating surplus. Another item, you received federal CARES Act funding, which is being used to assist in covering costs related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So overall, a very good audit and a positive financial statement report.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Tom? I know you all had a copy of the audit and an opportunity to read all 33 pages, which I'm sure you did. Any questions? Joe, do we have any questions?
No, I would just mention that the Finance Committee had a detailed review of it on Wednesday and recommended accepting the audit to the full board.
Okay, wonderful. In that case, I mean, can we accept that now? Or do we move that down, or what's the?
I think you just vote to accept it now, right?
All
Want a
right.
motion?
I'd like a
to
motion
approve?
to accept, I'd like a motion to accept and approve the audit from Seward Monday as presented by Tom Cartelis.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Very good, thank you. The audit is passed. Congratulations, Joe and Helena, on preparing this wonderful budget that was approved. And Tom, thank you very much. You're certainly welcome to stay on. This is so much
I have a
fun.
few other things to do, but thanks for having me, and thanks to Joe and Helena for another positive audit and getting it done during a tough time during COVID.
Yeah. And everything else that's going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Charlie, just for the record
Um,
that are in attendance.
report, for the, meetings. Indeed, the, meeting of February 19th, I don't think that was sent out with the packet.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the procedure is, Leslie, when we don't have them included in the, information that was passed out. We
Well,
have to.
actually, Charlie.
Have to defer that. Go ahead.
No, those minutes were passed out. They were part of the packet. There was so much, perhaps you didn't see it, but I did. Everybody else, did you all see those minutes? More or less, I
Yes.
mean, yes, okay. So they can be accepted, Charlie.
Okay, so would like to have a motion to accept the board meetings from the February 19th, 2021 meeting.
So move.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Unheard. We will like to entertain a motion to vote.
So moved.
So moved.
No.
Okay,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. The motion is accepted for the board February meeting. The Leslie, the MOA committee minutes, you sent out separately, I believe.
Well, there were a ton of them. They were all attached. So instead of saying, because the MOA committee met anywhere from every week to every other week, we're just saying bundle them, acceptance of all MOA committee minutes. I think that's acceptable.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Ooh, the finance committee minutes of Wednesday's meeting. Lisa, have you distributed them? As I have not gotten a copy, or
I have not received those. The minutes from this week's meeting for finance, they have not been distributed.
okay, then we can't.
We could table that.
Yeah, we can table that
Okay.
one.
Susan, I sent them
Um,
to you yesterday. I don't know why you didn't.
Yeah, probably people didn't have time. Oh, because our email's not working.
Email, no,
Oh.
look,
Hey,
yes.
I didn't get
Yeah.
anything.
I'm sorry.
it's
I
not
did
you,
send
it's
them
our-
out. Sorry.
It's our
Nope.
email, and like I said, we're not getting the rejection until a day or two later. So we think
Understood.
they're going out, and they're not going out.
Okay, no problem. We can do those at the next meeting.
So we'll just table it till next time.
Okay, we can do the service committee minutes, meeting of March 16, 2021. They were distributed in in the package to, I believe, everyone. I'd like to have a motion to accept the minutes of the March 16th, 21.
I move.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. The minutes of the Service Study Commission are accepted. Next item, Leslie, on communications. I have not received
Okay,
any communications, so nothing to report there.
good. I would like to propose, since we're losing Noel at 11:45, is that correct, Noel?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry,
Um,
but I have, yeah.
I would like to propose that we move executive session up in the agenda. And in looking at the agenda, I think it's important that we have at least the COG report, so Sam does not get stalled, and the MOA committee report, which will help us to just go into executive session. So I would like someone to please move that we move executive session up after item 7.2.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Back to the agenda. We are at the treasurer's report. Susan?
No report today.
Okay, committee reports. Hi, Sam, how are you? Sam? A lovely picture of a wall. All right, we'll come back to Sam when he's back, and we'll go to the MOA committee report. Susan?
Okay. I sent out a couple of documents yesterday. I'm sorry for the short notice. But the discussions on the contract negotiations will be reserved for executive session. We are making progress in our negotiations with DOT, and we will discuss the specifics of those in executive session. But for purposes of this meeting, I would like to briefly go over the second document that was included in that distribution, which concerns the quorum and voting issues. We are working in a joint committee on revising the bylaws that would pertain to the expanded estuary district. And there are a number of issues here that are important. And because unlike Middletown, all of whose 4 members are really intimately involved with what is happening on this project, we have 5 board members at Estuary who have not been involved because they are not on the MOA committee. And we wanted to reach out to you and sort of get a feel for what your thinking might be on this issue of quorum and voting. You'll note that we are looking at this from the perspective of both a 12-member district, which is Estuary plus the 3 towns from Middletown, and a potential 18-member district, which would include 6 other towns, 3 of whom are on contract to Middletown and 3 of whom are not on contract to anyone. Once we join with the Middletown members, we will then have contiguous boundaries with some of these other towns, which will then enable them to join us. The basic concern is this: by consolidating with Middletown and then subsequently with these 6 other towns, we are accepting larger and larger population towns, which therefore have a higher weighted vote. Those of you might not know, but the way the voting on this works is that the population of the smallest district governs the weighted vote. In this case, it's Lime. So our vote, who, can somebody stop that? That it's really hard to,
I think Noel's got to go on mute. He's not muted.
okay. The way it works is Lime is the ground zero. So however, everyone, and is the denominator. So whatever your population is as a town, it's divided by limes. Lime represents one vote. Everyone else is +1 because of their population. Middletown, because of its population, is entitled to 2 directors. All the other members are entitled to 1. The basic concerns are this. Estuary has a number of very small towns. And there is a concern that the representation of the smaller towns will be dwarfed by the addition of several much larger entities. Conversely, members of the Middletown Council in the past have expressed the view and the concern that its role could be diminished by the addition of several smaller members. So we have, in essence, some competing interests as far as this goes. It's further complicated by the fact that the local contributions for Middletown and for Estuary are significantly different. The budgets are the same, $2 to $2.5 million each. The 3 Middletown members contribute $525,000 a year. The 9 Estuary members contribute $163,000 a year. So the Estuary members contribute less than 1/3 of the amount that the Middletown members contribute. The reason for this is that this is simply the way it has worked out in discussions over the years with Middletown. There is no statewide formula that we can look to resolve what may be perceived as an imbalance. This is simply the way that it is. And this imbalance of financial contribution can also become a factor in who gets a vote and how the decisions are made. Our goal for the new bylaws is to achieve an equitable voice for all members, but still provide a reasonably flexible framework for us to conduct business. We've spent 2 meetings so far discussing this in the joint committee. And for those of you who don't remember, that's 3 members from our board and 3 members from the Middletown board. We have another meeting this afternoon, which is one of the reasons why we're reaching out to you now. One of the things we have decided is that we will continue Estuary's current process of requiring both the number of towns and a number of weighted votes in order to achieve quorum. That is not necessary, but that is how we have done it. Several other districts do that. That tends to dilute the impact of only 1 or 2 large towns being able to control the activity. Number 2, there would be 2 tiers of decision-making and voting. One tier would be what we would call the supermajority issues, which would include things like removing a member, removing an officer, setting local dues, and those kinds of things that are outlined there. Tier 2 would be the more routine business matters, and that would include everything else that was not a supermajority. Tier 2 would be everything from the mundane approving of minutes to approving budgets, fare schedules, hiring an executive director, etc. We also outlined a number of things that we would like to include in board policy and not include in the bylaws, such as attendance and committee structure and that kind of thing. The question before the board for you folks today is, should we aim for a simple majority or something greater on the quorum issue. A simple majority is simply 51% or 50+% of all of the members and all of the weighted votes would be necessary in order to conduct business. That has those following advantages and disadvantages. I will call that a simple majority, a lower threshold. And Joan's been involved in these discussions too, and Leslie. So if you want to add something, please feel free. This lower threshold does provide the flexibility to conduct business by not requiring too many members to be present. It's also simple to monitor and administer. The disadvantages of a lower threshold is that it does permit a small number of members to control voting for both a 12-member and an 18-member district. So for example, in a 12-member district, if we require a simple majority, that is 7 towns and 25.9 weighted votes. 25.9 weighted votes can be met by only 2 towns, Middletown and Clinton. Now, the likelihood that we would only have those towns there is very small, of course. But when you set a simple majority, that is, I would say, the worst case scenario of representation. The disadvantages, let's see, I went over those. A higher threshold, such as a 2/3 majority to meet quorum and voting, would up the ante as follows. It would require greater town representation to conduct business, and it would give a somewhat greater opportunity for participation by the smaller members. It could impede our ability to take action if we don't meet quorum. And if we don't have what I'll call the big dogs in the room, Middletown and Clinton, and then later on, other larger entities, and Old Saybrook is Shirley, you're one of the big dogs too. So it could impede our ability to conduct business. And the largest members can still continue to dominate weighted voting. And hi, Angus, and that there is no way for us to change that, because the weighted voting structure is set out in statute, number 1. Number 2, it is related to population. And number 3, one could argue that people who have more skin in the game and are contributing more can and should have a greater role. So these are the two kind of, I wouldn't call them extremes, as those of you who've done this before know, there are an infinite number of variables and an infinite number of types of things that we could do. There's nothing magical about 2/3. It could be 60%, 70%, 80%, could be anything we want. But these are the two basic things: a simple majority, which has lower thresholds, and then a larger than simple majority, which will have higher thresholds, with those following types of advantages and disadvantages. Now, I realize that it's difficult to have a definitive opinion about this without seeing the exact numbers, but what we're looking for from especially those 5 board members who have not been privy to these discussions, is what is your thinking, if you have thinking now, about what your preferences might be on this issue of quorum and voting. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion. Or Angus and Joan, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you've said it, you've summarized everything perfectly based on all the discussions we had and the concerns that ETD has voiced from the beginning, that once we do quote unquote merge, our voice definitely will be diminished just by virtue of Middletown's percentage and the weighted vote. I mean, it is what it is, but in all, that's why I'm definitely in favor of the higher threshold, such as the 2/3, so that could at least allow for the greater town representation to conduct business. And I don't know, Susan, if you have that spreadsheet available that you
I
could
do.
show the weighted votes so that the rest of the people, members of the board could see what the impact actually is.
Joe, do you have access to that?
I actually have it open.
Oh, good. If you could put that up on the screen, I think Joan's right. That could be very helpful.
Is everyone seeing it?
Scroll
Okay.
higher. Could you scroll
Yes,
higher?
you scroll
Yeah.
higher. You need to come up, Joe. Yeah. No, other way. Okay.
Could you go higher where it would?
You need to
contain
be at the
towns,
top.
The
You-
original
okay.
towns that would be in the merger. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, this is the, not the 12-member municipality as it would look in ascending order of population and weighted votes. So as you can see, estuary is going from 9 members and 35 weighted votes total to a 12-member district with 50 votes weighted total. Then if you come down, Joe, if you scroll down, please. Okay, these 6 towns, 3 of whom are on contract already to Middletown, but these 6 have expressed an interest in joining the expanded estuary. So as you can see, they are also towns of larger populations and therefore larger weighted votes. The addition of those 6 towns would result in an 18-member board with a total weighted vote of 80 weighted votes.
Susan,
Yes,
just to clarify, it's an 18 municipality board with 19 members. So I think it's important for everybody to keep remembering that Middletown gets 2 votes.
well, the members are actually the municipalities, but you're right, the directors are there would be 1 more director because Middletown has 2 directors.
And could you scroll down, Joe, so that we could see the impact of the simple versus the 2/3 majority? Okay, 3/4. Okay, thank you.
Sam Gold has a comment.
Sam,
Yeah, so maybe Joe can clarify this. So let's say the 2 Middletown board directors vote in opposite directions, 1 yes and 1 no. The vote points are split, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
while having, they have 2 members, but I guess that's a good and bad thing, because the good is, well, I wouldn't say good, but it's a mixed thing, because it means that their vote by statute is split amongst the 2 members. So, and even if 1 attends, they only get half the vote. So
they can only vote their share.
correct. No matter what, even if they're the only one in attendance of the 2, they only get their share. So Middletown's, anything, their weight requires both of their members to vote the same way.
Yeah, and otherwise they can cancel each other out.
Correct.
Correct.
For me, this has been from the very beginning of this conversation, this has been my biggest concern. As you can see by the populations, the Estuary Transit District we're going to lose our voice, and it needs to be the smaller towns in particular, Lyme, Chester. We can scream at the moon, but if we don't have the votes, we don't have the votes. And there are many benefits to this expanded service, but it's really a concern for me. The only thing that I work towards on this is trying to figure out how best to protect the voice of the smaller communities, and that's a difficult thing, as you can see. these weighted votes are difficult. I don't anticipate that there's going to be a whole lot of dissension. There certainly has not been in this combined committee. Everyone has the same goal. And I think generally speaking, everyone will have the same goal as we move forward. But you know, jump into something like this with and just look at the actual numbers of what your voice carries is difficult for me to agree to, but it is what it is. We just have to make sure, and we're being led by some people who are working very hard to make sure that we keep our voice. But
And I'll just mention, Susan kind of already mentioned it, but what's interesting and I think sometimes surprising to people is that, and not so much the city of Middletown, but Middletown area legislators have equal concern, because for a long time, Middletown was the only member of Middletown Transit and had all the votes. And then they allowed a few towns to join, but they still have by far the biggest control over it. But, you know, I mean, they can actually be outvoted in this new thing where they could not in the past. So I think everyone has the same concerns about trying to make sure everything's equitable. So we're not alone in having concerns. They might be a little slightly different, but it is a concern shared by all.
no,
As
and
Angus,
that's a good point.
yeah, and as also as Angus pointed out, we are working extremely well with the personalities on the Middletown board at this point. There's a lot of mutual respect. Everything we've done has been unanimous over all these months. Trust is an important element here, but we also know that from negative experiences in both boards, that neither the board nor the appointing authority can remove a director once a director has been appointed. Even the appointing authority cannot remove that director. So if a person is appointed who does not share the goals and visions of the group and is difficult to work with or fails to attend or whatever, we are powerless to do anything about that. So we really do need to rely on the leadership of this board ultimately, and to do the right thing, and the appointing authorities appointing qualified people to serve in these roles. We can't control weighted votes, and we can't control who gets appointed. There aren't that many things actually we can control given the nature of the statute. But setting these quorum and voting thresholds is one of the things we can control. How do people feel about continuing the estuary policy of requiring both a number of towns and a number of weighted votes to achieve a quorum? Is there general agreement about that?
Yes.
I think that's very important.
I do too.
Okay.
And
So
other
with-
transit districts have that requirement as well.
Yes.
So,
Yes, and we can also, and I think we will, in voting on certain issues, we can also require both of those things. We can, the way it works is we can require just a weighted vote. We can require a weighted vote and the number of towns, but we cannot do just the number of towns. If we could do that,
And we could just say what's a passing amount of weighted vote. It doesn't have to be, except for one item, it does not have to be a simple majority.
correct.
So that's the other thing we could control.
Yes. So do you, and I'm sorry that this is a complicated issue, and I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to think about it. And if you have other thoughts on it, please, shoot me an email or call me. We aren't going to discuss anything without coming back to you, but our policy on all of these things has been no surprises. And I think that looking at these numbers is is an introduction to stark reality about what the expanded districts are frankly going to look like in terms of weighted votes. Are there comments or preferences about a simple majority threshold versus something greater than that for quorum and voting?
Charlie, you're muted.
Joe, you want to put us all back up? There we go.
Charlie, you're muted.
Charlie,
Charlie,
Charlie. We can't hear you.
Oh.
Not working, is it?
Peter, you're muted too.
No, you got to unmute, guys.
We can't hear you.
Still muted, Charlie.
How about now?
Yeah, now we got you.
Okay. I would, and I think everybody should have a copy of this document that you've been posting up here, because there are so many, alternatives and variables. I think we need some time to sit down and look at the whole thing.
I'll be happy to send it out.
Okay, my immediate reaction on some of it is I think the vote should be somewhere up in the range of close to 60% to 2/3. And one of the concerns that hits me is when, let's say we have both Cromwell and Portland, which are large populations, add to the mix. It changes, changes the neighborhood. And I think that's a concern where we are now with just the two existing units together. And then when you add, especially the large population towns to it, you then might want to change, the percentage once you get those added to the bowl. So I think it needs a lot of study by each town, and in addition to looking at what's current as to what might happen in the future. That's my thoughts here right now.
Peter, do you have any comments on it?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I think Charlie is right. I've been looking at this thing, and it's really, every time I think I get a solid feel for it, I come up with something that distorts my first opinion, which really leads me into agreeing with Charlie, because this is one of the fundamentals of this whole scheme is implicit in those numbers. In 5 years, we're going to try and look at them, and I'm not sure they will hold up over time. So I really think that they require a more analysis by each of us, because this is a tough one, and I'm not given much to political positions, but I think it's taking it out of the economics of our system and injecting a potentially difficult political element into it. And so I'd like to have a chance to review it and see how it lands on my plate.
Okay. Noel, do you have any reaction?
And no, I don't have a reaction.
Okay, how about you, Tim?
Well, it might be that if you have a higher threshold of votes, you might also incorporate a person, base it on who's present. So if people aren't present, you could still transact the business. Maybe you could also do something like the Senate, where you have, each town would have a vote on top of the regular votes, so that the little towns somehow have more say than just say one vote or two votes. Obviously, Middletown at 19.8 is the gorilla in the room, and I don't know if that could be somehow modified. I guess they'd not like to see it reduced, but if it's based on dollar contribution, maybe that could be modified. So, but perhaps by giving all towns one vote just for being in it, that might dilute the whole pool.
Unfortunately, while I think your idea has merit, the statute does not permit that. Correct, Joe?
Well, not in calculation of weighted vote, but if based on what Jonathan said, he feels that we can also require a certain number of towns. So it could kind of, which is essentially does the same thing, right?
That's what we're
if you
talking
put both
about.
requirements in, if you both say you need a weighted vote and a certain number of towns to vote for things,
Right,
then that essentially does the same thing without changing the weighted vote.
which is what we would have to do.
Right, we can't change the weighted vote. The weighted vote is statute. It's based on population, period. But there's only like one or two, there's a couple of items in the statute that say they must be done by the weighted vote. Outside of that, then we are free to say what is a passing vote.
Right. What we had hoped for was that we could vote on some of these items simply by number of towns. And that is not permitted under the statute. So by combining these two and requiring towns and votes, we can mute both mute the impact of the larger towns and also enlarge the impact of the smaller towns.
And then the other, just to throw in the other things we've been looking at, because we've been looking at this a lot, is number one, anything on quorum. If you have attendance issues, that becomes a problem. We've had that in the past. So, we're trying to weigh what will still allow us to, what can we do, but still not prevent us from doing business. And the other factor is if the higher threshold you put, anything that doesn't pass is automatically a no. So, I mean, if you make the threshold too high, you may always require Middletown to vote yes. And if they ever vote no, then they rule by the negative. So,
Susan, we're going to send this out to everybody today so that, as Peter has suggested, they can look it all over. But you're going to need response from all board members who have responses within an extremely timely. So do you want to put a deadline on and hope that everybody can get back to you within the week?
Yes.
So that you're not tied?
It would be helpful to hear from people by Thursday, April 22nd. The joint committee is now meeting weekly to try to resolve all these loose ends. Again, the actual board revisions will come back to the larger, both boards individually for approval. Didn't want to surprise anybody. It's a complicated issue. We've been discussing it now for probably a month or two. And unlike other things, we don't have a particularly great solution to recommend to you, which is why we've laid out basically what the concerns and the problems are. So I think for purposes, Leslie, of today's discussion, I think we're finished. Please communicate back to me. Feel free to call me or Joe if you have any concerns, or, Joan and Angus are on the committee as well. We are meeting this afternoon with the joint committee to discuss this further. If any of you would like to join that discussion, you're welcome to join.
Okay, and one other just small thought on that as far as quorum goes. Keep in mind when you're talking about any kind of a super majority being required for everything, we very often lose quorum by the end of a meeting because people have to depart. I think you should factor that in before making, if you're leaning towards supermajority, factor that in, that you may end up not being able to conduct business if you make it too stringent. That's one thought that I had.
That's one of the trade-offs, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, Susan,
Okay.
excellent report, and in case all of you don't know, this MOA committee has been working its tush off, and they've been absolutely amazing and fabulous. All of you, especially Susan, who's, if we had to pay her by the hour, we'd be bankrupt by now. Is there anything else on MOA?
Not till we hit the executive session.
Okay, I think we have to accept your report. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second, discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very, very much. Sam, you missed us for a minute there, we skipped you, but we'll go back now to the COG report. Thank you
Oh,
for
great.
joining us.
Yeah, the reason I was away from my computer is because our lawyer called to give me an update on the question that Joe had posed to me earlier in the week, which is what happens to the executive order about virtual meetings on April 20th. So what our attorney Steve Mednick has heard from the administration is that the intent of the governor is to extend it to May 20th. So it hasn't happened yet, but you know, there's 4 days until the 20th. So the intent is to extend to the 20th, and we're also waiting to see what bills come out of the General Assembly regarding virtual meetings. The rule that has existed since 1981 for virtual meetings is this. You can hold meetings by telephone. This was back in the days of speakerphones. And so having a hybrid meeting where you allow either a member of the public to attend the in-person component of it and be able to watch a screen with the online participants, or if it's fully virtual. Right now, the Freedom of Information Act ruling from 1981 is you have to make a computer or phone available to them, which I think considering how far we've come, we don't have to provide members of the public transportation to public meetings. If there's a phone number for them to call, I don't think it's too much to ask people to call in and have access to a telephone. But we'll see how that evolves. But right now, it's business as usual, virtual meetings, probably until May 20th, and then we'll find out. So that was the question that Joe had posed me, and that's the answer we have from our lawyer. Regarding other items from the River COG. Next, 10 days from today, on April 26th, we will be revealing a public draft of our regional plan of conservation and development. This document, our regional planning committee has worked very hard on, and on a relatively short time schedule. We hope to have a draft document out for everyone's review for the 65-day public review period. We'll make sure that the transit district that Joe gets a copy and he can distribute it to all of you. The meeting of the Regional Planning Committee where this is being presented is going to be held at 7 p.m. on Monday, the 26th, and it's we welcome all of you to join. We'll be giving a overview presentation of the document and explaining to people how they can submit their comments on it. Other big projects that you should be aware of that the COG will be starting is we're working on completing our bike ped plan. We are hiring Fitzgerald and Halliday to complete that project, which has been sort of a lingering project for a couple of years. And since every transit user starts off as a pedestrian, I think this will be of interest to the transit districts. And then the final large project that we're also kicking off is a regional housing plan. And the state has created a new mandate on the towns for them to each do an affordable housing plan. Essex completed theirs in 2018. 4 of our towns received grants to do them. That's Westbrook, Old Saybrook, Durham, and Middlefield. So they are doing theirs separately. And then the remaining towns, the COG is hiring a consultant to work with each of those towns on an affordable housing plan. But we're going to show it in a regional context, and transit, of course, is a key component towards to affordable housing, because access to jobs and access to transit definitely is important when you're talking about housing that is useful for lower income workers. So those are the big things at RiverCog, and we'll make sure that you get an invite to for our regional plan event. So,
Wonderful. Any questions for Sam? No.
And
Sam,
and
thank
I
you
also
very much.
and I also
ahead.
just want to I'm happy that this MOU process is moving forward, and that you're all engaged. And I want to thank Susan and Leslie and all the members of the board who've worked so hard on this. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Sam? No? Sam, you may have missed it, but we moved our executive session up to right about now, because
Right.
we are going to lose one or two members early on. So you may want to, unless you've got something you are specifically interested in.
no, I will say goodbye.
Oh.
Thanks,
all right.
Sam.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. All right, everybody. I would like to move to executive session. And in addition to the board, we're inviting in Helena, Joe, Lisa, and Suzanne. I think that's all who's here who's not a board member. Motion to move into executive session.
Go ahead.
Joan, second.
Second,
Okay, at 10:33. We are now in executive session. Joe, can you
Joe,
stop
stop it.
recording? None, all in favor? Record now, Joe, and we are out of executive session at 11:23. Thank you all for your patience for that. Moving back to the agenda, item 7.3 is Finance Committee. Susan?
Okay, we did meet on Wednesday. The primary element of the meeting was the audit, which we've already gone over. And before Helena gets into budget versus actual and cash flow, two other items came up I want to share with you. One is with regard to our Route 81 pilot project. This project, the money for it expires in August of this year. We have not forgotten about it. We have gone to DOT asking for an extension of that pilot for another year to compensate for the fact that COVID has negatively impacted ridership and participation. Joe has also been able to ask for some additional money for that particular project in a late breaking development this week of additional programming money becoming available. So we will keep you posted on that. And the second item was that we did speak at the end of last year about a fee to charge for extra mile service. And you may recall that we are funding Extra Mile for up to 3 years from our CARES Act money. The CARES Act money funds Extra Mile without the need for a fare. It is the only service that we are providing now, other than the special COVID type services, where we do not have a fare or charge for it. And I think we've announced that that service will remain free for the summer, but the Finance Committee will go back and revisit the issue of whether to impose a fare for that service, and if so, how much, sometime in the fall. So with that, Helena, I'll turn it over to you and any questions that anybody may have, of course. Okay, Helena.
we're
Yes, yes.
we're dumbfounded.
Sorry about that. I'm waiting for Joe to put my chart on it. I'll be very quick because it's been a long meeting. I'm saying that the budget versus actuals, we're doing very good. The budget was actual showing 8 months to the year. So from July to February, we're doing good. There's not any concerns. about it, and we actually have little surplus there. I can go through all this program. We as always, we go in the detail with the finance committee. So I have two things I want to show you, something new on the budget versus actual. And for now on, that's what we will concentrate it. It's one is the CARE Act money and other is Extra Mile, which is right now will be funded by actual CARE Act money. So when Joe put that in, I will show you that. On the cash flow, we have very healthy cash flow. We continue putting money on the general fund, which is making very easy for us to pay our bills. We haven't borrowed money for last 7 years, and so that make very easy for us. Here's Joe. Can you give the care? But this is the this is our budget versus actual from July to February. And as you can see, in the bottom one, the color one is that I put all the programs together. Then the bottom, you have all of them separate. But in the thing that is any deficit, it will show up here for each program, and will tell you exactly which program in deficits. Right now, we don't have no deficits. We right on the budget, so that's a good news. And the other stuff, like I said, I want to show you. Joe, can you show them CARE Act and Extra Mile, please? Open that. So here's our CARE Act. I put this little chart for you guys so you can see. We have two parts of money. We have Urban CARE Act and we have rural. Urban CARE Act comes from federal government and rural comes from DOT. As you can see, we've been awarded. For urban, we want a little over 1.5 million, from DOT 30,000. Then what we draw so far and what is obligated to draw, and the remaining balance. So as you see it right now, this is what our remaining balance, 1.4 on the federal side and 17,000 on the DOT side. So we still have 4 months to draw money from here. The 30,000 will go away because they give us for the year. If you don't spend it, it's probably not going to give us next year. So but urban money, Urban CARE Act, it's continue money to we actually draw all the money. So that money was given to us and not going to take it back. So can you show Extra Mile, show Joe, please? This in the bottom, Extra Mile. That's the Extra Mile money from CARE Act been awarded to us. When Joe open it, you will see they give us I think 960,000 for it's.
Are you not seeing it?
No.
I'm on
The
it.
money we can use for our Extra Mile, and the same thing, if we don't use all the money, the money can go back to CARE Act money. It's all for operations, so we can use for the other stuff we need there as well.
See it now?
Nope.
No, it's not wanting to change.
Okay, well, it's sorry, it's $960,000, I believe.
Try
Yeah.
stopping and starting. How's that?
Okay, now go. Yeah, we see the first one.
I'm on Extra Mile.
Oh, you are. I'm sorry. I got
Yeah, that's
glasses.
right.
Yeah, so with
Okay.
that's our Extra Mile. So far this year, we spent $94,000. We draw previous year, and up to the day, we draw $147,000 out of the $960,000. So the remaining balance is $812,000. So I just, for now on, I will keep update you on this money so you guys know where we're at. Is there any questions?
Helena, I'm not good at reading these things here. Under CARES Act, do you break down where we have spent CARES Act or?
No, no, I don't break down, but it's a separate money. It's like a separate grant, and I draw money, and that money whatever is spent eligible for CARE Act, I can draw on that. So we draw some salary for the extra people with the clean buses, for their benefits, all this extra that we spend money on the when drivers would and not eligible to work. the other drivers will all overtimes, all the stuff that's eligible. Also, it's an operation stuff. Also eligible will be other stuff like other cleaning, security, a guard we have here, other stuff. It's all eligible. So we have to just take it those money, and that's what eligible expenses, whatever eligible expenses we can put it towards.
But
Here at.
Today, it's all been operating costs though.
Yes,
There's
this
been
is
no
all
capital or,
correct.
it's all been salaries and benefits.
We also have like 100,000. They're also not here, or 100,000 they give us in the capital. That's mean by some equipment, some whatever we need, some to spend on that. But this is all operating. So.
No, I have a
We
question.
have plenty of money. So.
Helene, I have a question relative to COVID and disinfecting the buses and so on. My question is, any of that labor and or supplies, can that be charged back to FEMA?
Well, Joe, we have, I think we just, Joe can just inform me that they make application with FEMA for some CARE Act testing. Maybe we can bill to them that we brought people for testing and for vaccination. And we start getting bills from the transportation provider. And that money I put in on the side, and when we make the application, we will be billed to FEMA. Yes.
Just to comment on that, in the terms of the town, originally the guidelines called for 75% of reimbursement. Most of the expenses now that we've incurred for town going to be reimbursed, we believe, at 100%.
That's our understanding too for that. But we are only, we're just doing that one program to FEMA because we got all this CARES money, which was intended for those other things.
Yes.
I wish we could use the CARES money for the taxi too, but this other source also came up. So the CARES is extremely flexible. So if we could save that for some other, other uses, we happily will. And we'll charge to FEMA the taxi costs, which has been getting popular for the vaccinations.
Correct.
Helene and Joel, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So in the cash flow, like I said, I have no concern. We're doing strong. We have a healthy cash flow, so there's no issue there as well. Leslie.
You're muted, Leslie.
Sorry, we need to accept Helena's finance manager's report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Leslie,
I'm sorry, I sort of.
Yeah, I know, you jumped the agenda, but that's okay.
I did, I'm sorry.
That's why I was not ready at all. I didn't have any of the spreadsheets ready yet. You guys threw me off, but I didn't want to call it out.
No, it's fine. It's a done deal. So is the further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Helena, thank you very much for that report. Now we're going to go back under items number 7 to number 4, marketing committee. That would be me. And Helena's just answered one of my questions with the free rides for vaccines and testing. We were using CARES Act money. I was curious to know how much of that we'd spent. I think we allocated $25,000 tops. But now you're saying we're going to go to FEMA for that. So I guess
we're going to try. I mean, with FEMA, you don't know until you get reimbursed really if it's going to come. So
okay, well, we've been marketing that to the towns. I know it's been in the Chester newsletter, electronic newsletter, and it's been very well received. Mostly what, for vaccines, Joe? Or don't
that's
we
been the
direct
most.
it?
That's been by far the most popular. I mean, we were getting people going to testing sites, but the vaccines have been very popular. Last month, we ended up having, I don't know, it was like almost 30 people go to vaccines. So it was well utilized last month.
It's a great service, and keeping in mind now that they're opening up everything to the younger people who don't drive, this may be, I would like us to put this in every town newsletter as much as possible. So Joe, I'll just put that back on your desk to resubmit if you can. The other thing we've been working on is we were informed by the MOA committee that there were a lot of requests for information on what's going on from legislators, from people in the government, other government from the various towns. So I've been working with Susan Rubinsky on putting out a marketing brochure, if you will, kind of a trifold, that explains briefly to everybody what this MOA, what the expansion would look like and how it affects the towns, how it affects individuals, and just bullet points would be fleet size, a little map of what the district will look like as compared to what the two districts are now, possibly showing route maps, and what the facilities would be as far as fueling, maintenance, washing facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully we'll meet with, I'm hoping we're going to hear from Susan sometime today with an update on that. And the cost was estimated initially at about $2,500. It's going to end up being more than that because we're asking her for more than we had initially suggested. And I was hoping that DOT would pay for it, but who knows, right, Joe?
Well, they're gonna pay for it one way or the other, but.
One way or the other, they will pay for it.
And Susan, am I remembering right that we discussed this with the joint MOA committee and said we would share it?
Yes, if it comes to that, right.
Isn't that what I said? I think so.
Yeah,
I
We'll
think we
share it. We'll
discussed
share
that.
it with Middletown.
Right. It's not just an ETD expense,
Yeah.
but ideally,
just-
since the
There's
DOT
been so
is,
much sharing now between us. I got to remember what we did.
and the DOT's
discuss and
asked
what we didn't.
us, DOT asked us to produce some kind of a marketing piece. Don't you love it? In any case, other than that, I don't think there's any other marketing update. Is there, Joe? Just the brochure?
No, we sent out the website stuff. It's fluctuating.
Okay, fine. And you don't need to approve marketing reports. So we're going to move on. If there are no other questions.
There is a question.
Yes.
Can anybody see me? I seem
No.
to be Linda's
No.
iPad.
You're
I'm still here, but I'm apparently an iPad.
There should be a button there that says stop and start video up at the top. Do you see stop video or start video?
I just
Hit
sent
the
your
bottom
request.
too.
There we go.
Oh, no wonder you're a chairperson.
And I
Thank you.
could even rename you.
Yeah, rename it Linda's iPad. Okay, so moving along from marketing, if there are no questions, other than can you see Peter? Legislative Committee, Joan.
We've had Zoom sessions with Senator Cohen and Paul Chicarella, as well as Representatives Kevin Charney and John Michael Parker, which were very successful. We have to schedule a session with the selectmen like we have in the past. I have to be meeting with Carl and Angus and with Joe to determine an appropriate date based upon what's going on with the MOA. And as well as based on what's happening with the MOA, we may have to have additional sessions with our legislators. And all of the legislators that we spoke with in our sessions were very supportive of us. And even if you needed any additional support from them to either intervene on our behalf or whatever we needed to do with the Department of Transportation, they'd be willing to. So that's it for now, and I'll just keep you all apprised if anything should happen between now and our next meeting.
Thank you. Questions for Joan? Legislative questions? No? Well, thank you very much, and we do not need to accept Joan's report either. Moving on to the Transit Advisory Committee, Tim? You're muted.
Yeah, the committee will be meeting next week to get into the reports, and so I don't think there's a lot to report at this moment, but that was deferred from an earlier time, so next week.
Good, thank you. And we don't have to approve that either, so we're going to keep moving. Service Study Committee, Charlie.
There Yes, we had our first meeting on March the 16th, and the notes of that were distributed to all the board members. It was mostly a organizational meeting, being it was the first time. And we focused on identifying areas where we might consider changes or recommendations. The biggest one was improving Route 641, various aspects of it, and hopefully we'll have that put together by the next meeting. Also, we discussed the results of the passenger surveys that was taken. And we expect to put together some recommendations of which of those requests we should be looked at and perhaps implemented. And the other item we looked at and talked about was the out of the COG study, the pulse situation at the Saybrook Railroad Station. There were most of the routes would meet there simultaneously, so you could have a good exchange from one route to another route for the customers. So we didn't have any recommendations, at the end of the meeting. We were just putting data together. We were hoping to have another meeting before this meeting, but we couldn't do that due to member schedules. So we have the next meeting set for next Thursday, and hopefully we'll be able to make some progress on that.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Charlie? Our new committee, their first meeting. Thank you so much for chairing that. And we're not going to accept your report either. We're just going to let it go. Moving along then to item 8, the executive director's report. Joe, I imagine you've got tons of things to say.
Yes. And before I get too into my report, I want to introduce a couple people. First, I'll start with Jared, since we discussed him already. Jared's the Director of Operations in Middletown. And first we discussed about sharing. So just Jared say hello and
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
And then the other is Patrick. Patrick is our new maintenance director, the first of the shared positions we've been given by CONDOT. So he began April 1st. We're really excited to have him on. It's the first maintenance director either agencies have ever had. So he's been spending his first couple weeks trying to get everything organized, and we're going to begin coming up with a plan of how we start phasing everything in. And but he's already hit the ground running, already been getting dirty out there with buses. So
we appreciate it.
Can't keep him away from him.
Welcome, Patrick. It's nice to see your face.
That's exactly what we wanted. An agency our size, we wanted somebody who was a big concern of ours to make sure we had somebody who wasn't afraid to go get dirty. That's often an issue in maintenance directors. In my years in the business, you see that. You get done that once they get into management roles, they don't want to turn a wrench. We saw that in interviews very much. So we're really glad to have somebody who, is willing to do what needs to be done to get the job done. So we're really excited.
We're very excited about both of you coming on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any questions or problems or whatever, just talk to Joe. We don't want to know.
Yeah, don't call us.
Don't call us. Anything else, Joe?
So, and then at the next meeting, you'll get reports from both of them. Something Patrick and I discussed. We're going to work on a new maintenance report, something we haven't getting in the past, but we'll be able to now. And then we'll make Jared report too, because he loves doing reports.
All right, so you're going to make those standard reports on our agendas from now on?
Well, the operating is always there, but yeah, we'll make a standard maintenance report as well.
Okay, yeah, add that in. Okay. What else do you want to talk about?
And so I'll let them take off if they'd like to, because I know they got lots going on, but they're welcome to stay, of course. All right, now let me share my screen. So our revised CARES grant, adding the additional funds, was approved. It's an executed. It's a total of 2.6 million, but as Helena mentioned earlier, that includes 960,000 in CARES Act and extra mile funding for 3 years. So it leaves about 1.6 million for other purposes. Our mobile ticket use continues to increase. We saw a 31% increase in the number of times passes were used that mobile passes were used in the 2-month period compared to the prior 2 months, our last board report. So we continue to see an increase there. We provided, like I said, it was 25 to 30 COVID vaccination trips in March. So we're getting good usage there. And I know a number of towns have volunteers or their social service directors are working with people. And when they call in about getting help to get set up for vaccination appointment, and then ask them, do you need transportation? And they'll connect them to it if needed. We changed our IT vendors, and we're now on the same vendor as Middletown, which has been helpful as we set up shared employees, because getting the IT to work together is a key factor in having shared employees, being able to work in both networks. So we're now able to better do that. I mentioned Patrick beginning. We submitted our federal fiscal year 2021 capital request to CONDOT, and FTA just told me yesterday they want all of our applications in by June 1st. We're hoping that we'll be able to meet that deadline because right now it's out of our hands. It's waiting for CONDOT to get us the split agreements, which is kind of how we split up the money, the federal money. We all have to agree to a split, all the transit districts, and then it goes to the COGS too for approval, or the MPOs. So,
Joe, what are we asking for?
I don't have the total in front of me. It's there's a lot of items related to the merging of the districts because there's a lot of capital expenses involved. Susan, do you remember the number offhand on just that? It's 5 something,
It's
585.
1.1. The
But
other
this year,
capital-
remember? This year, yeah, the
Oh,
other capital.
Yeah,
It's like
about-
585, I think, right? 600.
Right. And then 700.
Yeah, and then we have, and then there's a bus order we're asking for, and some other small projects. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood, a little over $1 million, I think, 1.2, 1.3. Unfortunately, I never know what we're looking at until I get those split agreements to sign. Do I know what we actually can expect? So I'm hoping we'll have that in the next month. Give me at least a couple weeks to write the grant application. So, and generally the way it comes is I ask for I have to say specifically kind of what we're looking for. They just send me a flat number. And then I get to kind of prioritize what other things, if we don't get at what we asked for, I get to prioritize which of my projects are top priority and do the application accordingly. But yeah, so it's a whole process. It takes some time. So Susan alluded to this a little earlier, and it's been kind of, besides everything else we had going on and everything we had planned this week, we got hit last Wednesday with we were given a day and a half to come up with transit enhancements, which we weren't really given clear guidelines. We just said, just give us projects. And so we went to our study and pulled out all the operating projects out of there and provided that. And we just completed the study, so we were in a good position to give some proposals. They then on Wednesday again had a meeting with all of us and kind of went through and finally gave us direction and kind of dollar amounts. So, and then we were given another day and a half to get it back to them. So
who is them?
DOT, sorry, DOT, yeah. And it's coming from above them. I guess it's coming from, my understanding, it's coming from as far high up as the governor possibly, that they're looking to do some bus service expansions. We don't know how much. We don't really know any details. They were just told, give us projects, which is, again, is great for us because we just did this study. We have all these potential enhancements planned. So I was able to give them a lot of enhancements, but we've had to work through, make sure that the numbers that we got from consultants were good. And then come up with some initial prioritization. We've been trying to work on that in the service study committee, but I was given 2 days to come up with these things. So we had to come up with it quickly. But as Charlie said, our number one priority, as we've long discussed, is improving our 641 service. It's our key route. We also got the state to look at Sunday service as a possible just statewide enhancement. So that's a potential. And again, and then the rest all just, again, comes straight out of the study, including new extra mile zones and such. So there's potential. Again, we don't know how much money, but we're potentially looking at a good amount of money coming down to us for service expansion. How soon? Again, we don't even know that answer either. We know we had to hurry up and get them the information. I don't know how quick they're going to make a determination and then provide funding. So, it's all good news, but it would have been nice to have a little more time. But at least it's money. You don't often get those calls to give us lots of projects because we have money. We are meeting with the town of Madison on Monday. They want to discuss potential enhancement of transit service there. So we know, we've identified them as a potential new member town. They already contract us for some service. It's a minimal amount, but they have new leadership in town and want to look at how they can improve their transit offerings there. And then we've been working on implementing a board management software. As you see, saw from the minutes, we have a lot of board meetings going on. And so we found some really affordable online software that could help us manage that better and give you all like a portal to be able to just get all the information, see your schedules of all the meetings, have one more centralized place. And it also then will go right back to our website. So as soon as we create an agenda, it automatically populates on our website. And it makes all the minutes easier and organizes everything. So everything will be in one spot. We also have been in the process of implementing a applicant tracking and onboarding system. We've been, between drivers and all the other staff, we've been doing a lot of hiring and a lot of onboarding of applicants. So we wanted a way, especially as we grow, to better track that and have it all in one place. And so now we did it. Our first person we did it with was Patrick. We were able to do everything electronically with him to onboard him. He got all of our policies electronically, filled out his tax forms electronically, I-9, all those things were done electronically and all managed through that system. So the day he came in, we didn't have to do all his paperwork. It was already done before he even started with us. So we plan to really start using that for all of our hiring. And I think
Joe?
That's everything. Yes.
I have a cat that jumped on my lap, and he asked a question that the bus transit in Connecticut is going to become free. If that's correct, how would it impact us?
So that's an agenda item. It's not just weekends is what they proposed and only for the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know what? And you just reminded me, I have another thing too that I didn't get to in my report because it, as Leslie said, there's been, especially the past few weeks, we've just been getting requests from all sides. Just last week, I was told by ConnDOT that they've been in discussions with DEEP, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, to expand weekend service to parks during the summers. And Hammonasset was one of the parks identified, and they've been talking to them about us expanding service and just told us last week. And so we've had to provide proposals to them as well to add Sunday service on the routes that pass there and potentially extend the trolley over there. So that was also due in a couple of days. So it's all positives. It's all very good things. Again, it would always nice to have a little more time to get them done, but they're all very positive things. DEEP is really interested. And we met with DEEP last week, and they're very, very interested in it. And so that might be another potential that at least for the summer, we can get some Sunday service out there on both the 641, because that passes Hammonasset, and the, Route 81 route. So and that we would have to, we're looking to start Memorial Day weekend. So yeah, quick
Joe,
turnaround.
going back to your survey earlier in the year, of course, with the virus running around, it had an impact on ridership. But I was trying to look at these numbers because I thought it was a marvelous questionnaire. But somehow or other, you have to balance the numbers with the objectives of full service and then that truncated service after the vaccines business started. Is there any way to get some consensus out of those by combining them proportionately?
So exactly which survey are you referring to?
Oh, you had made surveys, you brought them up about 3 months ago, passenger surveys, what they wanted, like Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was the, well, that was all done through the study, as part of the study. If you're asking about doing it again, during the surveys again, you talking about, or comparing them?
Well, I think those were so good that
They were very good studies. They were excellent surveys. The challenge with them was that we had 2 rounds of surveys for the study. The first round was pre-pandemic, and it was right at the outset to say to people, kind of give the consultants an idea of what do you tell us you want before they even come up with their suggestions. And then the second survey, the intent was to say, okay, we heard what you said. Here's what we came up with based on that. And what do you think now? Because, often we say, people want a lot of things up front, and then when they see it, it might not look as good as they thought. So that was, the point of the second round of surveys. And it was that second round of surveys that were impacted by COVID, and we weren't able to get out on buses. And even if we had been able to get out on buses, and we wouldn't have seen as many people. So it was that second round that was really impacted. The first round, we had fantastic participation. Their estimate was something like 70% of our riders at Ninetown participated in that survey. It was an incredible number. You'd never see numbers like that. So it was extremely, extremely strong participation. The second one was not so much so. So
could you correlate those for that committee, the service study committee? Because I would think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. We can. The study tried to do that the best they could. The real problem is you don't know exactly who responded to the second survey because it was all done online. We had other options for people to call in and such, but they didn't do it. So what we mostly got was online participation. And then are those people who are really using the bus, or are they people who have never used it and are just, and it's really impossible to discern that. So I think from our perspective, the best thing to do is use the initial survey, just because that's where we got the best participation and people told us what they want. But before we do anything major, we're going to go back to public hearings anyway. So we will give people another chance to give us their feedback. So there will be other chances for feedback. Now if this money, the state sends down a lot of money now and it's quicker, we may still have the same issue where getting people together in a room is not really possible. But I don't know. We'll see. A lot of that's going to depend on the timing and how things are looking at the time that we find out there's money.
Okay, thank you. The cat thanks you too. He's biting me. Help.
Is that it for your report, Joe?
That's all for my report.
Okay, any questions for Joe other than what we just gone over? No? Thank you very much. Motion to accept the executive director's report.
So moved.
Second.
Second, discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Joe. I was a lot going on. All right, we've already done finance manager, so we'll move down. Is there an operation manager's report?
Yes. Margaret gave me some stuff to share with you. Hold on.
Is she gone, Joe?
So she's gone today,
Oh,
but she'll be back next week.
okay.
We were able to get her started back again on Monday. And she had things to do anyway today. She had already made plans for the day. So here's the report she wanted me to share with you all. That, we are seeing fluctuations month to month. I'm seeing it everywhere. And it really is as cases spiked around the holidays, ridership dropped again. It had been growing. They drop when the spikes happen. So it correlates with what you're seeing out, in the news. When they start reporting that the cases are increasing, we start to see dips in ridership again. Hopefully, as people are getting their vaccines, they're going to be getting out some more. And as their economy continues to recover, we should hopefully see more people traveling. This trolley season will be beginning soon. If this whole thing happens with Hammonasset, it may begin even a little sooner. So we'll see. Extra Mile continues to grow again. It's back to increasing, and we're starting to see dollar ride trips come back. And the numbers will be next. She mentioned that we are pretty much fully staffed. We are looking potential another part-time driver, but we're at 24 drivers total, which is on the high end for us. But with all the extra mile service, it's requiring more drivers. And then we've had somebody out on workers' comp for a couple months now. He's recovering, and hopefully we'll see him back in the next month or so. Margaret has spent a lot of time trying to get everyone used to the radios. They were very used to cell phones and wanting to keep calling. So that's been a constant. It was a little bit of it was an effort to get them to get used to using radios instead. And she did a presentation with the Clinton Library one a couple months ago that was really well attended. And then there was supposed to be one yesterday. They did not have as good attendance. They felt, I forget what they said the reason, but they thought it was something. Oh, they said this time of year often does not do well. So they wanted to reschedule it. But they did come up with a nice presentation that's ready to go whenever that happens. So if everyone else has libraries doing virtual presentations, the one in Clinton, like I said, the first one we did was really well attended. And I guess this library said they got really good feedback, so much so they wanted us to come back. So, if you know of anywhere else doing those type of virtual presentations, we're happy to present them. And we do that in collaboration with the Kennedy Center, who then presents the mobility management services they do and the travel training services they do.
Leslie,
And-
just to let you know, Noel just had to leave, so I don't know, I guess we still have a quorum. I'm not quite sure of the numbers and whatnot.
We have a bodies quorum, but I don't know if we have a weighted vote quorum. So, Charlie, if you'll just run down the chart, you're missing Carl and Noel and Joan at this point. In case we have to take any motions between now and when we adjourn. Thanks, Suzanne.
Well, I guess
Sorry.
if you don't have a quorum, you can't take any action.
Right, if we don't have a quorum, we have 6 bodies, but I don't know if we have the weight, so we'll see what happens. Sorry, Joe, are you?
I'll just say quick, she wanted to thank you all for, as you see there, for her time. Those are her words.
Oh, okay, well, she's not leaving yet, so.
No, yeah, that's why she kind of ended the way she did, but she still wanted to, she might not be at the meeting, she probably won't be at the meetings in the future, unless she pops in just to say hi. So she just wanted to thank you all. She enjoyed working with everyone and is happy to be able to still continue to work with us in this new capacity.
Okay, motion to accept the operation manager's report,
And
please.
everyone should have seen all the figures on the operating numbers. That was all
Oh,
included in the
sorry.
packet. We don't, I won't go through it unless everybody wants to, but you see, I'll just point out is Extra Mile was really strong in March. That number is actually, it was actually the best month we've ever had. So that's back to that's above pre-pandemic levels.
Wow.
And other routes kind of, again, like Mark said, fluctuate. One month they'll be lower than before, next month they'll be higher than before. So, and one of those that's actually been higher is our Route 81 route. That's getting back up to pre-pandemic levels too. So, but right now it's hard to say anything is a trend. We just don't know. We're still in kind of uncharted territories.
Okay, good. So I think we do need a motion to accept this report.
We usually do, yep.
All right, someone want to make a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Second, discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. Anybody have old business? No, hearing none, moving on to new business. Joe touched on this summer fair promotion. Do you want to go into it in any more detail?
Yes, because I do want a motion if we have a quorum still.
Charlie,
Because-
do we have a weighted quorum?
Who's missing? It's Carl and who else?
Clinton,
we do.
Westbrook, and Killingworth are now missing.
No, let me-
5.
I could start this.
To
Then
start the
everyone-
discussion.
Yeah,
and
I'll
then
start
let you
discussion
know.
on it. So this was another 2-day thing, not even. We got an email on a Wednesday saying that there's going to be a press release tomorrow morning that about free fares for the summer statewide. And we're just letting you know. And then it came out Thursday, and we had no real details. We finally, since then, we've gotten some details. We've been told that at first we were told, like, we're doing it. And since then, we've been told that it's for CT Transit, but they are asking that every transit station participate, and that they have come up with, they've calculated our fare revenue loss to do that, and are going to, based on pre-pandemic ridership levels, and are going to make us whole. Now Helena's calculated numbers. What was it, Helena, like $500? Is that right, Helena?
Somewhere around there, yeah, I have to
Yeah.
take a look.
So, it's about a $500 loss to us. It's not, and that's pre-pandemic numbers. Right now, it's less than that, so it's not big money. And it is something they're trying to do as a statewide effort. So, but it is a board decision. Fares are a board decision, so it is something that has to be approved by the board.
Okay, well, I don't know if we can.
Right.
Yeah,
We have 20, we
you've
have,
got enough, we got 14.76 and we only need 1296 for quorum.
Okay.
okay, well, then everybody has to agree or it's not gonna happen. So do you have a motion, a specific motion, Joe?
So it'd just be a motion to provide free fares on weekends from Memorial Day through Labor Day. Or
As
from Memorial Day
proposed.
weekend, from, the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend until Labor Day weekend.
As proposed by DOT, or do you not need that in there?
Yeah, I don't think you need that.
Okay. Is there
Okay,
someone
you
who'd like to
count
make
me on
that?
that.
All right, so that's Peter's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Everybody? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Then you're okay, then the vote carries. We need everybody on that. Okay, so moving along to lease amendment. Joe's gonna explain what's been going on since our catalytic converters walked away. And we had to hire security and how much fun that's been. And what we're doing with renegotiating our lease. Take it away, Joe.
Yes, so I'll start by kind of keeping it brief because I know we've been updating you along the way. But so again, very quickly, a lot of our catalytic converters were stolen. So as a result, we've been working on a plan to prevent that in the future. We immediately started with security because we've heard other areas where the people came back shortly after, knowing that you would replace the catalytic converters and they would just hit you again. There's a number of cases where that happened. So we've had a security guard every evening, overnights in the parking lot. And people did come back and they chased them away. So it was good we had them there. But our longer term plan was to get as many vehicles inside as we can. There's only certain vehicles where it's really where it's really easy to steal them. And so the unit behind us, we just happened to ask if it was possibly might be becoming available and the people wanted to get out of the lease. So the timing was good. So I put in a proposal right away to ConnDOT because together with the unit behind us, we could have drive-in, drive-out parking in there and fit a good amount of the fleet, not all of it, but a good amount, at least enough that hopefully we can not be a good target anymore. And that paired with the administrative staff moving soon, once this MOA is signed, we will have the space to be able to move everyone that's currently out in the big open space into offices, because with that other space, you get additional 2 offices, and keep that open space entirely for parking buses. So not only is it good for preventing theft, it's also great in the wintertime to have it so that you're not removing snow off of these buses. The workers' comp injury I referred to earlier, it's been for a few months and was a pretty major surgery. That happened cleaning off buses and slipping and falling. And that's where we always have slips and falls. Pretty much every winter we have one. So hopefully this will minimize those as well. So there's other benefits to keeping buses indoors. It will definitely be nice to do that. It also gives us the ability, now that we have Patrick's already thinking about what small repairs can he do on site if we have that space now. So, nothing major, but we could possibly get a small, get a lift, a portable lift that we stick in the corner, and he could use it when buses are out. So it opens up a lot of possibilities. And ConnDOT has already, they deserve a lot of credit here, which they don't often do, but this time they already have us a TOD for over $30,000 for the fiscal year we are in, to pay for both the security guard cost and the few months of lease payment that were required. So what we will need to do is modify our existing lease to expand it to include this additional site. The landlord's willing to do all the site work. We could use our capital funds, but it will be a very lengthy process and very complicated because of the fact that we have to if we use federal money, we have to do prevailing wage, which is, number one, hard to get anybody to bid on a job this size, and number two, very expensive. And there's just a lot of paperwork in the purchasing. We wouldn't be able to get it done in time. So it would bring the lease to about $2,600 a month extra over what we pay now. ConnDOT has provided us $3,000 a month towards the lease. So, and because I put in money for utilities, insurance, all those other factors. So again, that's in this year. So, so that's what we'll need, is a motion to amend our current lease for this additional space. So that's what, did I cover it all?
Yeah, would someone like to make that motion?
And did anyone have any questions?
And second, Charlie, all right, I've heard the discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Good. As I
Do you
say,
give
we
me
need
the
all of
amount
this.
of the lease in there? I'm sorry.
The additional amount is,
is like $26.50 a month.
Additional.
Yes.
So
And
while
you-
you're. I'm
And
sorry,
here's a warning to all of you. Standing on the railroad platform on Long Island, a young guy came up to me and said, Peter, you know, they broke into my car and took my old battery. Well, he didn't figure it, but the next day he came up and said, you know, I put a new battery in and they stole that. And the lesson is, these guys are smart. I'm even in Essex, we're having a problem with this, and I'm locking my cars in the garage every night. So maybe don't put an old battery in. Oh, put an old battery in, that'll fix them.
Well, speaking of old parts, are we going to be reimbursed for the catalytic converters? Has that been determined?
Yes. So they provide us additional capital money for all the rural buses that had them stolen, which was the vast majority of them. It left 3 buses that were not, and that they asked us to charge to existing capital grants. So it'll all be capital funds. We won't use any operating money.
Okay,
And for 8 of them, it's brand new capital money that we didn't have before. So
okay, great, thank you. Is there any other new business that's not listed on the agenda? All right, then moving along to chair comments. I have one, actually, it's a question. Joe, can you give us an update, please, on the 2 resolutions, which we were hoping would go, one to Virginia's family and the other to John?
yes, they've both been delivered. And John was very appreciative. He said it was a very emotional for him that night. And Gene, Virginia's husband, said that he was going to be giving it to his son who wanted to display it in his home.
Very nice. In addition, with Virginia, we had voted to have a plaque made for a bench in Clinton, and status on that, please.
Yep, the plaque's been ordered. And so we just have to then decide how we want to, if we want to do like a little ceremony like we've done when we've done this in the past. Or we
Yeah,
want
I
to-
think there
which we
should be
decide-
some,
we could discuss that offline, but that will
Yes.
be the next thing, is discuss how we want to.
yeah. Once the plaque is in, we'll figure out something. We will do something, Donna, Virginia, and make sure that her time with the board was duly noted.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, we
That's
put her
all.
years of service on the board on it, around the
Right.
plaque.
That's all I have for chair comments. Are there board comments?
Susan, that meeting you're having this afternoon, I would like to, if I can, listen in on it.
Sure.
Can you tell me what time it would be?
It's at 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll have Joe, can you send Charlie an invite?
Leslie,
No,
are you
you
able
can't.
to? My email's still down. It
I'll
might work.
send it.
It may
Hang on.
work. I have to do a restart of my computer, so I just don't know if it works yet, and I can't
All right,
restart
but
it while we're on
I've
this
got
one.
all that right here.
Okay,
So
great. Thank
Charlie,
you.
Charlie, I'm
Okay,
gonna
thank-
send it to you right now.
Thanks,
Okay.
Charlie. That'll be
Thank you.
good.
And the other thing I forgot to mention, as far as updating everybody, our meeting every 2 months is fine because we have these marathon meetings. But as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of information that's and activities transpires between meetings. I will be happy to send out what I feel are timely and appropriate emails to everybody with bullet points, so that you're up to speed on what's going on as major things occur. Like I did when the catalytic converters were stolen, I thought, as a board, you should be informed before you read it in the paper. Is everybody comfortable with that as a mechanism for keeping you up to speed, or do you want more regular meetings?
I'd like to make a comment on Leslie and Susan. I think you both write very well, and your summary of events, I think, is so well done. And I think as a board member, it coalesces a lot of the stuff that probably I didn't hear correctly or something like that. Very valuable.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
second,
In
Charles, yeah.
exchange for that, I will give you a story for you. Warning. We all read about pills and how expensive they are. Well, guess what? I'm worth $2,000 of pills per month, and insurance is taking $4,000. I brought up the subject with my wife that at 93, was it really worthwhile? In which case, that's why one of my eyes is black. So, but it's interesting how you can
Linda hit you?
$2,000 in 30 days.
Peter,
It's a
you're,
hell of a
pri-
party.
we think you're priceless.
He is priceless. You're and cute as a button. Okay, Charlie, if you don't get that email within the next minute, let me know. I think I've just sent it out to you.
Okay. Thank you,
Any
Leslie.
any other board member comments? Hearing none, and we've already done executive session. The last thing to do is to agree that we will meet again on June 18th at 9:30 a.m. And motion to adjourn, please.
So
I
made.
just comment, I'll
Fine.
make that motion, but I think we're probably, Susan, you correct me if I'm wrong, but more than likely, we're going to have a special meeting
Yes.
in order to vote on the MOA.
Correct.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But we will
Yes.
see each other before June.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, it will be a special meeting. Most other items that just require some sort of a consensus, we can do that via email, but that one I would like to see everybody
Yeah.
physically alive as you can be. Okay, so anyway, in any case, we are adjourned at 12:23, and thank you all very, very much for